Hello everyone. Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Hi.
Good evening.
Yeah. Just we'll wait for a couple of minutes and then get started. I see people still coming. So we have 9 participants right now. We'll be waiting for another 6 to 7 of them and then get started. So meanwhile, you can like give me some feedbacks on the last session. What do you want to change, or do you want to change my presentation style, or should I go slow, or should I cover certain topics which you expect, which was not covered? Yeah. Anyway, just let's start with the feedback.
It's fine, sir. I don't think that there should be any improvements in this.
You don't need to be very formal, Ankita. You can just suggest anything constructive, or like
Sir, I have a doubt.
yeah, go ahead.
Actually, in task 5, it was mentioned that you will get emails, but I didn't got any. So
Yes,
मैंने उसमें
we'll talk
बस
about that. Yes,
हम्म,
yes, yes.
पर मैंने वो टास्क सबमिट कर दी सर.
Okay, okay, all right. So, what happened was with that is like, so I do have like couple of open source phishing simulators, okay,
हम्म,
but they did not allow me to send phishing emails to Gmail accounts. Okay. So the reason was as simple as this, because Gmail provides email accounts to individuals and not security and not companies. So if I'm sending Gmails, if I'm sending phishing emails to Gmail accounts, it might be for like malicious purposes. Okay. So they did not allow me to send this thing phishing email to Gmail accounts. However, will I do have another method to show you how it works. We have a phishing sandbox which we can use to get things done. Okay, so we'll be talking about that. I'm really sorry. I forgot to tell. Yeah, that it did not happen actually. So, had you guys been on some other domain, suppose sharpener domain, or suppose you're working for Infi or TCS something. If your email ID was something at the rate etcs.com, I would have easily like sent. I could have sent you a phishing email easily, because then it would have allowed me, because I was doing a training session. But for Gmail accounts, it was not allowing me to send anything. I'm really sorry about that.
is it like Gmail provides more security?
See, not everyone using Gmail is secure. Okay, so there are people like my father. Okay, he just has an email account. He does not know anything about security in the email account. Okay, anyone asks him for the password, he'll just give it. He won't even know that he should not share his password. So I'm telling, like, Gmail is being used by, I don't know about billions, but at least millions of people. So, and not everyone is security conscious like uh, us. So you need, like, that's why they want to be the companies which provide phishing simulations. They don't allow phishing emails to be sent to Gmail accounts, or for the matter of fact, Yahoo or Hotmail or anything, whichever service is, like, they are providing commercial email facilities.
Uh, Actually, Rahul, the company email should be more protected, right, than
No,
Gmail.
so
So why isn't the case?
yeah. Okay. So when I download these simulators, right, when I request access in the GitHub pages, they'll ask me what is the purpose of this simulator. Okay. So that at that time I'll have to tell that I work for so and so company. I'll have to like provide my credentials, and then I'll have to state the reason that I'll be providing training. I want to run a campaign and see how my users are, how much active and conscious my users are when they're opening emails. Okay. So in that case, they'll provide you access. Okay. But then when once you start like using it to send emails to Gmail accounts, and I'm telling you, like, 50% of the times, okay, 50% of the times, normal user will fall for this. Okay, uh, and they'll share their password to different things. It's like it works most of the time because these companies, people who design uh, this simulations, okay, they'll copy the exact interface, exact page. You won't know the difference to that. But also that is what I wanted to teach you guys, like how to figure out if it's a phishing email or it's a normal email. Okay, there are 5 to 6 things which we need to look at. Okay, that we'll cover in our course. Okay,
Rahul, then how do we get the spam mails? If it is so secure, then how do we get the spam mails?
what is so secure? Which spam mails are company affiliated mails. Okay, uh, company affiliated Gmail allows them on purpose because they generate business from them. Okay, so it's like cigarettes. Okay, we know it's bad, but they still allow it. The government is allowing it because they are generating business out of it.
Yeah. And one more thing, I see most of my friends use Proton Mail rather than Gmail. So,
Yeah.
what is good about Proton Mail? What is it actually?
So Proton Mail is something like it's a secure, like, oh, what do I call it? It will provide you security like Outlook. Okay. So and it's like, do you know about Telegram? End-to-end encryption, all those kind, PGP, pretty good privacy, and everything is implemented in that email, which Gmail sadly does not have as of today. So that's good, and it's
How
like,
about
yeah,
creating? Yeah, actually, how about creating our own email, like using Thunderbird or something like that?
creating. I didn't get you. Sorry. Okay. Let's park these questions for later. We can actually, yeah, that's a really interesting topic, and we can take it up either like on one-on-one sessions, or you can directly email, like text me or do something. Yeah, I'll definitely, if I have an answer, I'll provide it to you, or if I don't know, I'll just look it up, and like I think I don't need to say that because you can Google it as well. So yeah. Uh, so let's get started. Okay, I hope some of you would have got time to go and check out the assessments. If you have not got time, okay, please make time and complete it maybe within the next 2 3 days or on the over the weekends. Okay, and next point which I want to discuss is about the timing, which uh, I don't know, many of you had objected to this time, so we'll discuss about it at the end of the class. Uh, so apart from that, can we get started with the next action item or the next course item which we have?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. We still have people joining. Yeah. Okay. And okay. Are you able to see my screen now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. So let's start with security threats. Okay. So these are one. I'll make one thing very clear to you guys. Like, these are 835 pages. Okay. However, you don't need to know all 835 pages. You don't need to mug all 835 pages to land a job. Okay. These are like copied straight out from a really good cybersecurity book. Okay, but this is a deep knowledge, and not like, if I cannot guarantee if the interviewer will know everything or you must know everything to get a job, to secure a job. So we'll only look through topics which are mostly asked in the interviews. Okay, and which can help you get a job. And I think once you land a job in cybersec, you can learn your way through it, and you can actually, like, once you start come doing certifications and stuff, you'll get to know various stuff. Okay, so let's talk about security threats now. Okay, so can someone tell me the difference between a virus, a worm, and a Trojan? Anyone?
Yes, sir.
So
Yeah. Go ahead.
worm is like a computer program. I mean, it can reproduce itself, and there is no need to be any person. And if there is a worm in your system, and if someone injects a USB, and the worm can be replicated to the USB too. So that type of worms are there. Then virus, it will be into that only system, and it affects the entire PC. I mean, it may corrupt the system, or it may delete all the files, or it may even block it the entire system for not to use. Then phishing is like replicating the other persons. I mean, suppose like his own boss, like that, replicating the other person and getting the credentials from them.
Okay. This is right. Let me refine a bit. Okay. Just three simple words to describe a virus is a malicious executable file. Okay. It can be executed. Once it's executed, it will cause harm to your computer. That's it. Okay. Worm, replicating harmful file. Okay. It can replicate to different folders. It can traverse through your directories laterally, and like it can slow down your system. That's it. Okay. Just remember those two things, small things. Okay. Phishing, I think most of you know, like you disguise yourself as a trustworthy person or business, and try to try to steal sensitive information, like let's say you made a fake Instagram login page, and then once you have a keylogger as well there, where once someone enters their username and password, it comes and saves to your database, and then from there you're able to get their user credentials, right? So okay, let's jump from here to another topic. Okay, can someone tell me controls how to secure, uh, how to be how to be cognizant of access and phishing, like what controls will you put in place, okay, to, let's say, is okay, first answer this question to me: is only password enough to secure a computer?
No, sir.
No.
Okay. uh, if you are given a choice to only have a password, what what uh, what will be the complexity which you are looking at?
Minimum 16-digit password that include alphanumeric, numeric, a capital letter, a small case, and some numeric and some special character.
16 is a bit too much, I would say, okay, because not everyone will remember that much, or that it will take time to type, and it might become a
8 to
burdensome
14
thing.
range.
8 to 14, okay, okay, so acceptable. Okay, and 16 is not a wrong answer, by the way, okay.
Uh,
But the downside to it would be, since you are putting 16 characters, okay, people might tend to use that repetitively, okay, and it might make it more vulnerable. Correct?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's not suggested to have that long password as well. Okay, so 8 to 14 is the number which we look at, with special character, with a caps lock, with a capital letter, with some numeric values as well. Okay. So let's move on to the next question. If
Sir,
only, yeah,
hello.
yeah, go ahead.
Sir, one more doubt. Sir, nowadays when we enter Google password, there are some suggestions and password are saved. Is it secure?
Okay, so we can discuss about that as well. Okay, so but first answer my question. Okay, uh, so if not only password, how can we secure our authentication method? Like what else can we put in place? Okay, and what is the system called? Someone answer me.
Two-factor authentication we can use.
Okay.
We can go for biometrics also.
Okay, so it comes under two-factor authentication only. So password used with anything else like biometric, or something
OTP.
yeah, OTP, something you have. Okay, that's the principle of multi-factor authentication. Okay? We do not use only passwords. We use two factors or three factors to log ourselves into the system. Okay, so multi-factor authentication is mostly it's mostly to do with three things. It's something which you know, that is a password, something which you have, what you have, that is an OTP, and something that you are, maybe a biometric. Okay, now okay, so these three things are important when you talk about multi-factor authentication. Again, people nowadays, they have started using uh, geolocations to validate and to log you in, right? So somewhere you are becomes another factor of authentication. If you are logging in from Bengaluru and you are deviating from trend after 5 days and you are logging in from Delhi, you'll get a prompt on your system that someone is trying to log in from Delhi. Correct? So yeah, so that is also authentication factor. So that is how that's the most basic step. Never have only password. Okay, use multi-factor authentication to log yourself in. So even on Facebook, Instagram, anything, you need to have this multi-factor authentication activated, and that will save you from phishing attacks and all, most of the times, like 90% of the times. Okay. Okay. Moving on. What are botnets and keyloggers? Can someone please give a brief?
So botnets, people use it while distributed denial of service attack,
Okay.
and then keyloggers means they track the keystrokes that's happening on our keyboard. It could be a
Correct.
software or it could be a hardware.
Correct.
And then rootkit, it's kind of a virus kind of thing, but it's stored inside the kernel, so it will be very
Yeah.
hard to detect and remove it.
Correct. And one thing about rootkit, it has the privilege access to be in the kernel, and
Yeah.
it can monitor the executables and have all the access. Like, it will get anything it wants from the computer. That's the rootkit, and it's
Yeah,
not predictable.
the rootkits usually disguise themselves as driver softwares, right?
Yeah, correct. Yes. .dlls or all those
Yeah.
executable files. Okay. Uh, does anyone know about blue snarfing and blue jacking? Oh, okay. Yeah, let's talk about blue jacking and okay. Let's do one thing. Blue jacking is something when you intercept Bluetooth of some person and try to send malicious information through Bluetooth. That is blue jacking. Like, you hijack their Bluetooth, through their Bluetooth, you try to insert malicious codes into their phone and get some data out of it. Okay, we'll talk about it. There are many more. Okay, we'll be talking about all of them later in the course. Okay. Not to be discussed. Just like. Okay. What security controls can we put in place to actually save ourselves from these? These are, by the way, these are very basic threats which we face in cybersecurity. The virus worms. These are nothing actually. These are 99.999 times will be blocked by even the simplest of endpoint detection and response systems. So it's nothing to be afraid of. Those are just, yeah, there are many other things to be worried about. We'll talk about them. Okay, so what we can do, we can prevent it by blocking attacks or closing the vulnerability. Okay, deter it by making the attack harder but not impossible. Deflect, deter, mitigate, and detect and recover. Okay, so these are the 5 things which has to be done, which security controls have to be in place. We'll discuss more about them. Okay, now after this, yes. So there are 3 types of security controls which can be put in place to secure your information. There is a physical security controls, there can be administrative, administrative security controls, and the technical security controls. Okay, the technical security controls would be something what we call the securing the cyber part of information, the IT part of the information. If you want to secure that, we put technical controls in place. Okay, if we want to secure our data physically, like if you want to secure our servers, our all these things like our computers, all these things physically, we need to have physical security controls like wall, fence, locks, human guards, sprinkler, and fire extinguishers. You'll be surprised like how many things we talk about when it comes to physical security. There is a standard for which sprinkler can be there, which fire extinguisher can be there, and which type of gas can be put in fire extinguisher. So it is all to do with data center security, because data center has become such an important part of our day-to-day, like working in a company. They have most of the data. Everyone is moving away from on-prem data centers to something managed by a third party like AWS or Azure or Google GCP. Okay, so those are the physical security controls. The procedural or administrative controls can be the like something like background verification of your employees to see if they are not criminal minded to steal your data, drug checks so that they do not become inebriated and like randomly send stuff to someone out of organization. We do nationality check to see if someone from hostile countries like Iran or North Korea like is not employed with you and takes advantage of your data, everything. And then we talk about security awareness, privacy awareness. Then we have laws and regulation, policies and procedures in place for in procedure or administrative controls. Then it comes to the technical part where we put cryptographic controls, we put password, we put firewalls, IDS, IPS, and all this vulnerability management, all this like whatever you can think of computer security will come in technical controls, right? Okay. So okay, let me pause for a moment. I have been going on and on and on. So anyone, any questions?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So, if my question is regarding phishing attack.
Okay.
In phishing attack, we can create a website and take it to the sender. So the receiver will put their credentials into it and will get the details, all details. Okay, sir.
Yeah.
So what about where does the URL plays a part, sir?
Yeah. So yeah, that is where we need to be careful. That is how
Yes, sir.
we catch phishing emails. Okay? You need
Exactly, sir.
to hover over the email URL. Okay, you'll
So
definitely
sorry to
find
interrupt
something.
everyone. So sorry to interrupt everyone. Kindly, all of the participants kindly mute themselves as it is creating echo in the meeting. Only speaker can mute and speak, and after that, kindly unmute.
Okay, is it fine now?
Yes, sir.
I think there is some more echo. Okay, let me answer your question. So URL, yes, we need to definitely, whenever you are getting an email from someone, if you want to check if it's a phish email, the first thing to be noted is the URL. Okay, most of the time they can disguise that. Like you will find a similar. So I'll if you are
So your
receiving
voice is
something.
not clear.
My
Sir,
voice
your voice is breaking.
It's echoing.
okay.
Yes, sir.
So I think
What can I do better?
It is
So
echoing
actually, because Saurav Kumar is not on mute.
Uh,
Yeah, now it's not echoing.
yeah, then now it's fine. Can you? Yeah, I think it's okay now, right? Yeah. All right. Let's move on. Okay, we'll talk about phishing in great detail. You don't have to worry about it. Okay. So for now, okay, phishing, they'll ask questions on phishing, okay, how to prevent, how to look into phishing emails. We'll discuss that, okay. The first thing to be looked at is URLs, definitely, but there are smart people, the hackers are really smart, okay. So suppose you are getting a email from HDFC Bank, okay. So the official emails you will receive from HDFC will be HDFC Bank, okay. Instead of HDFC Bank, you'll be receiving something from HDFC Banks, KS or HDFC Banks India. You'll still think it's a genuine mail because it sounds similar and it looks genuine. It sounds genuine, right? So because we are not that aware in our day-to-day life to actually go and check if HDFC Bank is HDFC Bank or HDFC Banks India or something. Okay, we'll just open it up. So yeah, we'll discuss about that. First, you need to know these three different type of controls, security
So
controls.
can we get any Axis Direct call names instead of Axis Bank?
Yes, correct. It can be like we'll talk about it. Okay, don't worry. And I'll show you like 6 to 7 good examples of phishing emails. Okay, and you will have to figure it out on your own. I won't do anything on that. For now, just remember these three type of security control. This will be very important for you, like for the interviews and everything, like, because they'll ask.
So what are
Yeah,
the
I didn't get you. Sorry, can you come again?
Can you
Uh,
mention that point sprinklers and fire extinguishers?
about sprinklers and fire extinguishers. Okay, how are
It's
they
not
important?
related to
Correct?
any software, no?
No. So yeah, that is what it's related to physical security of your data. Okay. So
Oh,
if your data is in a if your data is in a data center, suppose, okay, it's in a server, it's in a data center, and that data center is gutted in fire. What will you do then? Your data is eventually lost, right? So you need to have physical security control. This physical security of your data is equally important. You need to have security guards in place. You need to have uh, like all this HVAC system, proper HVAC system, and fencing, locks, all those in place to secure your information as well. So that's why we talk about physical security as well. Okay. So when you enter this field, there'll always be three departments handling security. There will be a physical security team, there will be administrative security team, and then there will be a technical security team. All right. Okay. Moving on. This is not important. We can talk about this later. Okay. Let's move on from type of security controls to ISO 27001. So anyone has any idea on what ISO 27001 is?
Excuse
No?
me, sir.
Go ahead.
I think it is a like a standard or you can say law which is implemented like for cyber security, so that all the company or the organization can design their security policies uh, by mentioning it, like by reference to it.
You are correct. Okay. So let me phrase it more accurately for others. Okay. So it's ISO 27001 is a information security management system framework, ISMS framework. That's it. Okay, just remember that word, ISMS framework. You'll be asked in any and every interview which you face regarding cybersecurity. What is ISO 27001? So just say it's a ISMS framework. Okay, ISMS is information system management, information security management system framework. Okay. So we will be discussing this today. This will be the focus item for today's lecture. Okay. And why? So ISO is a set of standards. It's a framework which all the companies use. Most of the companies, I won't say all. Okay. They use this framework. Okay, to implement their security controls. This is like, what do you call, a template on which security controls are implemented in an organization. So if you follow these 14 domains, you will have a really secure org, and you can actually you can be 80% secure. I wouldn't say 100%, but it will solve 80% of your problems related to security if you follow this framework. So this is called the ISO 27001, and 2013 is the latest revision version. So 2013 there. Okay. So yeah, and if we see ISO 20, so this is, and this ISO 27001 is provided by BSI, the British Standards Institutions. Okay, so they are the one who manage and update this standard. Okay, apart from ISO 27001, there is one more compliance standard which is very important. That is NIST, NIST, National Institute of Standards and something like that. And for cybersecurity, it's NIST 800, which is really important. It's similar to ISO, but it's implemented and maintained by the NIST, which is a government entity in the US. Okay, so NIST 800, 8000, and ISO 27001 are very important things which you need to. These are frameworks on which a company designs their security controls. Okay. So and so that is the definition. Then they'll ask how many controls are there in ISO. There are 114 controls, okay, which needs to be implemented. So there are 114 controls. However, you have the right to define and implement how you want it to be implemented. They are saying 114 guidelines are there. You have to implement them, but it's your company requirement and the size, which you can choose what technology you want to use, how you want to implement it, but the objective and the goal of all the controls should be achieved. Okay, 114 are there, and 14 domains. These are how many? Yeah, 14 domains are total there. Okay, which have to be implemented in order to be compliant to the ISO framework. If you want to implement, suppose you are starting if you want to implement security in your company from scratch, you will pick up the ISO framework document and look at all these things. There are 14 domains. Start picking up on them. Okay, so let's say start by information security policies. Okay, this is the most like the basic and the most important thing to have. Once you have started designing your information security framework for your company, you will start with making information security policies. Okay, the information security policies can be like many and many. Let's say how many information security policies can be there. There can be information security policies related to cryptography, can be related to business continuity, can be related to acceptable use policy, training and awareness, blah, blah, cloud security, network security, vulnerability management, threat management, and stuff like that. Okay, there can be numerous. Then, okay, this is the information security policies which we'll implement first. The second thing to be implemented would be organization of information security, how your information security team is structured, what are roles and responsibilities, who will take care of what thing, where is the segregation of duties being implemented. So we have to take care of that in organization of security, information security. Then we talk about the HR security. Okay, now people will be wondering what role does HR have to play in securing your data. They have like a great deal of like I would say human resource security is really important. So when you are hiring someone, you cannot just hire Tom, Dick, and Harry. You have to first verify their credentials. You have to look if they actually have that experience, what they're claiming. If they are from like we do checks, background checks like criminal, drugs, nationality, education, all this stuff. Okay, so that is in order to keep our data secure. That person who we are hiring is to be trusted or not. To check that, we have to do background verification checks. Then we provide trainings. Okay, the information and privacy security training. So I think we had discussed in the last lecture that many, like half the times, it's the internal internal company employee because of which an incident happens. Okay, so to avoid such incidents, we need to have proper information security awareness and privacy awareness training in place that should be conducted regularly. I think people who are working might be having those trainings quite often, regularly here and there, once a year or something. So that's part of the human resource security program as well. Okay, then there is the asset management policy. Okay, the asset management domain talks about securing your assets. Okay, a organization can have like thousands of assets. Okay, right from PCs to routers to servers. They can be, so all the as per this domain requirement, all the assets should be classified according to their criticality, public, confidential, all those stuff, and they should be inventoried. When an asset should be returned when an access is terminated of an employee. It talks about stuff like that in asset management, asset security. Okay, then we come to the access control part. This is the most like important part when we talk about information security and implementation of information security. Access control has everything to do with how you manage your access, right from password management to authentication, multi-factor authentication. How do you provide remote access to your employees? Uh, how can someone take remote control from, like, how do you do remote sessions? All this will be covered in this access control policy and access control. Okay, then we talk about cryptography. The next implementation phase will be cryptography. How are we securing our data at rest, in transit? How is the laptop fully encrypted using full disk encryption systems? Stuff like that we'll be talking about in cryptography. Then comes the physical and environmental security. We were talking about it in the previous slides, which we had seen. So here, it's physical and environmental security is mostly to do with data centers security. We cover how visitor access is management, who is permitted to go into the data centers, like who has the authority to allow people into an office or secure rooms. How all those stuff will be covered and should be implemented in physical and environmental security. Then okay, let's stop here for a bit. I'm blabbering from that time. Okay, guys, any questions? Silence means you didn't understand anything. But yeah, you don't need to understand things here. You just need to learn. You just need to mug these things, and this will be the most important part of any interview. ISO 27001. Okay, you need to have this knowledge. So if you see any job requirements for cybersec, they'll be talking about ISO management. Okay, you need to know what these domains are. Okay, they'll just ask you to like tell about all the domains. So you need to know all this about
Sir.
all these domains. Yeah.
Sir, what is the role of cyber security analyst in the company, sir? Does he code, or like what are the day-to-day responsibilities of cyber security analyst, sir?
Okay. Okay. So this is like a googly, but yeah. So let's. Okay. So a cyber security analyst will mostly, like 80% of the time, they won't code. Okay. But then there are cyber security architects who design controls. They might need to code a bit because so who are the best coders? People who know the requirements. They know people who can actually know the requirement and they actually know how to code, right? Those are the best coders anyway, because what happens generally is requirement is shared by someone else puts it across to a development team, and development team then designs something else, right? So instead of, if someone knows what a requirement of that product is, they can design it themselves. So it's actually good to have knowledge, but not essential. Cybersecurity analyst in day-to-day role will be, they can do multiple stuff. Okay, they can be monitoring and looking at threats, doing EDR monitoring, all the stuff, network security monitoring stuff. Then You can be doing IT auditing. You can be doing in identity and access management. You can, like, there are various things which, like, there are 5 to 6 roles within cybersecurity as well. So yeah.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, how much important, uh, like we have ISO and there is also some GDPR also.
Yes.
So
Yes.
is it like a same or different?
I have to cover all this today. So we'll talk about, they're all different. Okay. GDPR is privacy law. ISO is the information system management law, information security law. Information security and privacy are two different things. So we'll talk about that.
Okay,
Okay.
sir.
Yeah. So after these 7, there are 7 more. Operation security is everything to do with like management of our operations, the change management and stuff. And communication security, not that important, but has to be implemented. How you are communicating things across your company, how secure it is. Then system acquisition, development, and maintenance. It's about application development security. Then supplier relationship, one of the most important security aspects is how do you manage your risks with your vendors, how you secure information which you are sending to your vendors and suppliers. Okay. Then there is information incident management, another important part, how you manage your incidents, what controls are in place to manage incidents in place. Then there is business continuity and compliance. So if you can learn these, I can't say that you should mug this up, but have an idea that there are 114 controls, 14 domains which are there, which has to be implemented in order to comply a company with ISO 27001. Okay. And even you, an individual can obtain an ISO certification for themselves as a lead auditor or lead implementer. That you can achieve that by getting some training from BSI or something, or even a company can be complied to ISO. They can achieve ISMS implementation by doing these things, which is not very important to learn, but yeah, just remember this part here. Okay. Okay. From ISO 27001, we'll move to the second most, and I think this should be the most important one here. Yeah, the PCI DSS standard. Okay. This will also be asked in most of your interview questions. What is PCI DSS? Anyone, any idea?
Related to payments like cash,
Okay.
like ATM withdrawals and all.
Card payments.
Excuse me,
Card
sir.
payments.
It is
Okay.
like it is a payment card industry data security standard.
Yes, you are correct. What does it relate to?
Like it is like we have NPCI system like in for payments. Payments. So this is the policy where payments are being like what we say that
Okay, let me describe.
payments are being
Okay.
monitored or
Okay.
monitored or
Go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, payments are monitored or payment policies are implemented according to this standard by the various banking systems and all which are related to the payment.
Not entirely correct, but you'll get some points for it. Okay. I'll tell you. If you open Paytm, if you open PhonePe or any banking app on your phone, you'll see this tick mark of PCI compliant, PCI DSS level 6, level 5, level 4. Okay. So PCI DSS is Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard. Okay. So this is like 4 of the most important and the biggest credit card companies: MasterCard, Visa, then this one JCB, and Amex, American Express. Yes. So they came together, okay, and they formed a framework, okay, to secure payments in the banking industry or any payment, to secure payment. So they have come together, okay, and created a framework to govern the security of payment payments. Okay, so any app, any business, uh, anything which has to do with payments has to be compliant to that. Okay, they have to implement those controls in place. Okay, and that too, like there are 5 to 6 levels for that control, depending on the organization and depending on the type of business you get, you need to be compliant to them. So PCI is similar to ISO. Okay, there are 12 requirements listed out and explained. 12. Okay, we had 14 here. If you see here, we have 12, right? And you would see that these four, the 12 requirements which we need here, they all come under these 14. Okay, so what I am trying to convey is ISO is like the superset of all the framework that we have in the world. Okay, and PCI is derived from ISO and NIST frameworks. You will see all the controls, the requirements which are listed for PCI DSS. They will be a part of ISO certification as well. Okay, so have I made myself clear with regards to PCI DSS? Okay. Uh, okay, we'll cover two more, then we'll stop for the day. Okay. There is one which is called HIPAA as well. So that is the Health Portability Act of the US government, that has to do with securing health information, PHI, the personal health information of companies in the, like companies which are of the US citizen, and for the companies who are dealing in health records of patients and like normal citizens of the US. Those HIPAA requirements are also similar to ISO. There are seven major requirements for HIPAA, and they all like can be derived. They are derived from ISO only. Okay. Now let's talk about one more important thing, which is GDPR. I think everyone would have heard about it. It was implemented in 2018 May. Okay, and this is a law formulated by EU, the European Union. The US has a similar law, the CCPA, California Privacy Protection Act. Okay, uh, so and so these two documents, these two laws, okay, they form the basics for protecting privacy across the globe. GDPR is the benchmark. Okay, when it comes to privacy, security of private data of EU citizens. Okay, and GDPR, like in order to do business in the European Union, you need to be compliant to GDPR. Okay. GDPR is like set of regulations which talks about requiring the consent of subjects for data processing, anonymizing collected data to protect privacy, providing data breach notifications. All these are requirements of GDPR which you need to comply with. So when you visit a site these days, you would see the privacy policy, or they'll be asking for consent to collect the cookies or stuff like that. They are all doing it to comply with GDPR. Excuse me for a moment. Okay. Mm.
Rahul, are we done?
Yes,
Hello.
yes, we can close this meeting. I think we are
Yeah,
done
yeah.
for the
So I
day.
just wanted to discuss, guys, like regarding the timings. Uh, so guys, like what you guys are having problems with 10:15. So like, should we like is 10:15 a problem? Because see, guys, 11 o'clock we are closing anyways. So is 10:15 a problem? Because it's just